Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host Tony Cañas, switching to my radio voice. And today I have with me Brandon Donatelli, Chief Revenue Officer, Jessica Morose, VP of Marketplace Strategy, and this is where I'm going to screw up the name, Martha Ducharme, Senior Carrier Account Manager with Homee. So first of all, thank you everybody for joining me. How's it going today?
Great.
Really good. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Pleasure to be here,
Awesome.
Tony. Looking forward to having a good conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for coming. So, just like the quick icebreaker. In this case, I'll tell a quick story for the listeners. So, I never miss a CPCU event, a national one, right? So I always go to CPCU leadership. I always go to CPCU Inter-Risk. So I go to CPCU leadership, and I run into Martha, who I have seen many times at CPCU events, and I notice from her name tag that she's now at what looks like a startup or an insurtech type. So I say, hey, you're now at a startup. What do you guys do? Right? I'd love to. And then she tells me what you guys do, and I say I'd love to have you on the podcast. And then she says, our chief revenue officer actually lives like a block away. I can totally invite him, and I'm like, absolutely. So anyway, next day we end up having a great hour lunch, where I talked their ear off until I made them late to the next meeting, kind of thing. And today we're here recording the podcast. So first of all, thank you for the lunch last week. It was a great experience, and I'm really excited to have you share what you guys do with the listeners. So we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch. What is Homee?
Absolutely. Yeah. Tony, Homee is leading the digitization of property claims. Homee's pioneering technology connects insurers, policyholders, and skilled service providers throughout the life cycle of a claim. The Homee digital marketplace and claims management platform, in combination with a highly curated marketplace of service providers, is utilized by leading firms in the insurance sector to dramatically improve the claims experience for policyholders. Homee is backed by an investment from leading insurance companies such as Liberty Mutual, State Farm, The Hartford, to name a few, and Ferguson Ventures. So that's a little bit about who we are and what we do. I think, high-level pitch, but we can talk a little bit more in detail, I think, in conversation here.
Okay. So, when you first gave me the pitch, and first Martha, and then you, the first thing that really caught my interest is bringing all the parties involved in a property claim, especially when we're talking catastrophe, into the same platform. And you didn't mention it just now, but the fact that carriers can reserve service providers ahead of an event. So I was like, okay, I've never run a claims department, but that sounds very, very useful. And I also shared with you when we had lunch last week that I have no idea how this is traditionally done, but I'm guessing traditionally there's no unified process, there's no platform. It's very, very, very messy.
I would say that that's 100% accurate, Tony. Typically, in a CAT scenario, you have your own source internally that's going to manage pulling those parts and pieces together, but they're going out to many different resources. Could be 5 or 6 in a catastrophe scenario, from collecting the weather information to trying to reserve resources as backup for your claims staff. So there's always all these different pieces, and I think that's the beauty of the MyCat marketplace that Homie's bringing into the industry for us, is that it takes all those elements and it puts it into one repository. It's a marketplace for anything that might be related to the CAT claims handling needs of a carrier. So it could be that you're looking for pros. It could be that you're looking for some sort of support infrastructure, maybe from engineers or other experts in specific specialized areas, and they can actually. All
You were
right.
telling us You were telling us about my cat.
Yeah, so just kind of an overview from the insurance industry standpoint when a catastrophe scenario comes up, there are multiple elements, different parts and pieces they have to coordinate. So from the interior of the claims world at a carrier, they have their own staff that's going to manage. They have adjusters, they might have CAT teams. They also have to go out and search out catastrophe support adjustment teams in case they just don't have enough boots on the ground. Finding contractors that policyholders can utilize, that's always a challenge, especially those that are actually vetted or licensed and can be somebody you can feel assured working with. So there's a lot of challenges. And the different resources. So if you're watching weather and you're watching what might be going on in your claims systems, they're different. They're not merged together. So that's what MyCat Marketplace does is it gives you this true marketplace that allows you to come in and pre-plan for your events and manage them during the events and then look at what happens afterwards.
But by the way, I said this originally, but I want to say it for the public. You are so good at selling what you guys do. For the listeners, Martha's not the salesperson. She's the account manager. So if you sign up, you'll be working directly with her. So that might be one of the benefits here. For now, as they grow, there'll be more account managers. For now, okay. So Jessica, so I have you. You're the only one that I hadn't met before, and I have you as the VP of Marketplace Strategy for MyCat. So since we're talking MyCat, I'd love to hear the strategy of it.
Yeah, so everything that Martha was talking about is, all of the experiences that an insurance carrier has during a CAT event, right? So they're going through all these resources and all this planning and organizing and getting all this together. And MyCat Marketplace is the place where you can do all of that in one location, right? And the marketplace comes from where we actually have a marketplace in there where carriers can go and they can look at all the available contractors that are out there that have signed up on MyCat. So they can go and they can see those contractors, see if they're in the area where they need them, see what credentials they have, what's their service area, do they have availability, right? So we have capacity in there. So they can say, yes, I'm able to take claims right now, or maybe their capacity is 90% full and the carrier, needs to go on to someone else that has the capacity to take on all the claims that they're looking for. And then within MyCat, we have what we call the command center. So again, as Martha was talking about all these different pieces, it all comes together in the command center, and that's where you can see all your resources, right? See all those contractors that you've either pre-planned or are currently working with. You can see those on a map. You can see the weather on the map. You can see your claims that are coming in, your current PIF, and kind of organize all that together instead of having it all kind of piecemeal and looking at your weather on one side, on one screen, and your PIF on another screen, and trying to figure out who's going to be affected by this or who is being affected. So just bringing all of that together so it makes it as easy as possible for the carriers to get their claims fulfilled and get those processed and closed and keep our customers happy and making sure that people can get back into their homes as quickly as possible.
As a former carrier guy, for me it was immediately obvious why, from the carrier perspective, this makes so much sense. And it also makes sense from the policyholder perspective. This makes sense. If I'm a service provider, why does it make sense for them to be on the platform?
It's a great opportunity for the service pro to have access to a larger marketplace and to develop and create relationships that take them forward beyond just the CAT events. They may not always be able to get in front of someone, and that's part of our service provider network. Is it's not just insurance focused providers, so you can actually gain access to providers that can be much more in depth, or even very skilled at handling some of the small things that come in, because sometimes it's the frequency of these small claims that come in CAT scenarios and not just the big things. We always think about those big losses, but maybe you have a need for smaller handyman type pros, and we have those available.
Yep. And then in addition to that, Martha, it gives those smaller handyman pros that visibility that they wouldn't normally get to these, especially these larger carriers, right? Instead of having to reach out to all these carriers, they can see. So the nice thing with MyCat, not only does it have a marketplace of all of the contractors or professionals that carriers may need in a cat event, it also shows all the pros can see which carriers are in there, and they can actually reach out proactively to those carriers and start to make those connections and request to be part of their system and accept some of the claims that they have. So it gives them the visibility that they wouldn't normally get without that.
I think I'd like to point out too, it's probably one of your questions, Tony, but how does a carrier start to work with a pro? How do you know that they're going to fit your needs? That's part of the MyCat side, is it allows a carrier to create a profile and the pro creates a profile and they have visibility to each other's profiles. So they know immediately what the standards might be and they can say whether or not they want to accept and comply. So even though it might not be a pro you work with, they see what you as a carrier have an expectation for, and they're acknowledging that from the very beginning.
That is huge,
Yeah.
absolutely huge. It's a nightmare to manage that in the traditional way.
Yeah. Tony, can I touch on something here that you
Like,
said in your
absolutely,
question?
it's
You know,
yeah.
you mentioned not being aware or familiar of what the traditional method of capacity commitment is in the industry. And largely what you have today with some of the bigger players that are out there, uh, their capacity commitments have been around for a while, but the marketplace and the resource allocation and the tools to be able to manage the capacity commitments that are made by the vendors is something that the sort of constituent TPA and managed repair networks are challenged with. They're constrained into one single network. There are challenges for vendors and pros to get into that network and to perform within that network. And then they have complex, sort of outdated algorithms on how they're assigning work. And it's not a great experience. Not to talk negatively about any one company or anything else, but it just is not a good experience for the vendor, which in turn we believe is the center cog in the whole operation. If the vendor has good support, is set up properly to be able to manage and provide a really solid policyholder experience, that's the name of the game. And we talked today, and I know you're heavily involved with CPCU and what we do. This is a claims tool that is a really solid policy retention mechanism as well. So just because it's in claims doesn't mean it doesn't have value to other parts of the insurance carriers business units, right? The other thing I want to point out is the way that we manage our resources and that resource allocation. One catastrophe event alone, like Ian last year, really challenged the ability and some of the capacity that some of these carriers had. Think a carrier maybe has the operations and plans in place to manage an event for maybe 10,000 claims. What happens if a 15 or 20,000 claim event occurs? And worse, what if there's already 3 or 4 other catastrophe events in the same region? Now you're stacked on multiple events and your claims capacity is way beyond what you've planned and set up for. The dynamic part of being in a marketplace is you have the ability to stretch and expand and meet the needs and provide supplemental capacity in pretty short order. And that is something that our industry has not seen ever. And being able to produce technology that enables that and gives that sort of flexibility and dynamic diversity to be able to expand and grow the marketplace, by an event basis and be able to just, hit some basic criteria and turn it on. And next thing you know, your 10,000 capacity is now at 15,000. It gives a lot of peace of mind to operators and claims managers. And certainly, again, back to those vendors, great opportunity to find quality business, to grow your business, and to really be a beneficial solution for all the stakeholders in managing a claim.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. What's the revenue model? So basically, the idea of the platform sounds fantastic. Who pays for it? Is it the carrier? Is it the vendor? How does the revenue model work?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a new revenue model. It's not, you can imagine being sort of a new player in the industry. It's a little bit of an evolved solution. We are a technology first company, so we have a really robust software solution that we charge basic fees for. for carriers, because it's really an incredible vendor management solution, and there's really no major competition in the industry today that does everything that can be done within the MyCat solution. And because of that, we feel there's incredible value. You help carriers understand mobilization, understand complexity of losses. We have incredible predictive analytics in that system. Carriers are already paying for 3 to 5 other software solutions to get what we bundle up and provide a state-of-the-art solution in one platform in MyCat. In addition to that, once you're able to provide all this incredible data.
Brandon's back. Okay, so editing note for Tony. Okay, perfect. So before we had technical difficulties, you were telling us how this replaces 3 or 4 different systems that carriers have been using. There's no other integrated platform.
Yeah. So I mean,
good.
yeah. So to that point exactly, it's fairly like disjointed today. Carriers are using some cool solutions. They may have a GIS solution. They may have some weather analytics. They may be using an ISO PCS solution. All these different platforms that don't necessarily, the software solutions that just don't work together. You got to gather information from different places, and you got to have these custom builds to get them into one location. And then you have all this great data and information, and how do you go execute it? And what do you really do with that information? And we've streamlined that. Predictive, look at your PIF, study your PIF, understanding where you're at. How do we build that capacity commitment? We don't just look at your claims histories. We look at your PIF, and we try to predictive analyze and understand where the impact might occur. So we're not only providing support for these surge events and catastrophe events, but we've got this incredible capability to help with the desk and daily activity that's still occurring when these major events come. So we're really giving a carrier the ability to move their staff and focus on high priority triage and what's needed for catastrophe victims and their policy holders who are in the most dire, urgent need most, right? And then allow them to augment their operations and staff and giving them another channel to allow those desk and daily claims that are lower complexity, maybe lower urgency, a channel to be managed and still deliver great policyholder experience, but allow them to work with their resources in another capacity.
I'm always curious about integration because carriers are all over the place when it comes to their systems, right? We've finished the guidewire transition. We're halfway through it. We're still on a really old system. How does it integrate into my claims operation?
So largely today, we Claims Connect, CoreLogic, and Verisk are the 2 primary integrations that you'd want to focus in. And through those integrations, we work with Exact Analysis and Claims Connect to be able to plug into the carrier's current operations, depending on which of those 2 solutions they use. In addition to that, we're approved accelerator in the Guidewire system. We have not completed an integration there, but as a company, we've built, and we call it kind of this hub and spoke approach. We've built a basic API and claim service solution that we have internally that gives us great connectivity to be able to partner and integrate timely, and really the goal is for us, we want to meet our carriers and our pros, our service providers, where they are with the software and solutions they use. We don't necessarily want to create an environment where there's hefty training, there's a lot of lift to learn our system, and it's just one more application or software solution you have to train and get people to use. We want to be extremely easy to onboard, quick to get activated, and easy for your adjusters and your policyholders, or for a service provider owner or coordinator to be able to log into the system and start getting business and start operating. And I think that simplicity through APIs and integrations is really what makes us a valuable resource and partner in much of what we do. And lastly, I'll close on that. When you have integrations, you are no longer a vendor to a carrier. You are now a true partner. And we want to be partners. I'll stop there. Jesse and product and Martha and account management are far more connected to setting up the plumbing when we meet with a client and we set up a new account, and what those integrations really look like. For more technical detail, if we want to continue to chew on that topic, we can get a ton of
So,
knowledge from these
so
two.
just in Martha, so hurricane season starts June 1st. We're recording April 6th. Let's say this goes out, I don't know, May 1st, probably before that, but let's say May 1st. Can we integrate in time?
Yes.
Or like, oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
that is better than I expected. I expected a like maybe like July.
No, the great thing about MyCat is it's a software solution. So we could set it up to, if you have your intranet site, you can just click on it and get to it. Or you log into MyCat, right? We're already connected, as Brandon said, with these claim services. So, right, if you're using Symbility, you create a claim in Symbility, they notify us that a claim's been created. It's automatically in MyCat. But to get set up in MyCat for a carrier or a contractor, you just go out to the website, create an account, and you're in, right? And Martha's here. She's going to help, like with the carrier side. There's a little bit more work into setting up your account. But again, you just go out, create an account, and you're in. And you can start as soon as you get your what we call your profile filled out. You can be active. So for contractors, I would say that's in our professionals. It would be half an hour or less. You could be up and running. Just where's your service area? What services do you provide? What credentials do you have? And for a carrier, it would take a little bit longer because we're setting up your program settings, right? What are your milestones? What are your SLAs? Do you want us to automatically assign claims to a pro or a contractor based on the services they provide in their location? Or do you want to send a list of possible contractors to your homeowner and let them choose, so policyholder choice, or the carrier can choose? You have all these options. It takes a little bit to get it configured and set up. But again, when I'm saying a little bit, that's, you could have it probably set up in as quickly as an hour. If you really want to get into the details and customizing things, maybe a few hours, right? So it's, there's no, you don't need IT or, a developer, anyone to like integrate an API into the system, right? It's a program that you log into and you have all the information right there at your fingertips. We're taking all that integration and we're doing it directly with the companies like, CoreLogic or Verisk, so we're doing the integrations with them to then be able to communicate back and forth quickly.
I think I'd point out too that as great as it is to integrate and to bring in large carriers and have that ability to make that easier, to make that shift, there is hope out there for those of you that are smaller carriers as well. A lot of these, insurance company, the startups that are out, they actually have created a hub inside MyCat. So if you do not have some full-fledged system, you can actually utilize the system of MyCat itself to put claims into. So you don't have to be a big player either. There's a broad spectrum that it can reach.
Yeah, yep. And I'll kind of double tap that, Martha. So within MyCat, you can, we can integrate directly with whatever claim service you're using and have those claims automatically show up in MyCat. Or like Martha was saying, if you're a small enough company that you're not integrated with one of them, we have the ability in MyCat for you to create claims manually, right, as you go. And so if that's what you want to start with and you're small enough, you don't have to pay for this big integration to integrate with one of these claim services or a third party to help you do this integration. You don't need a development team or software engineers, to get this up and running. You just need the internet and the login and password.
Thank you for mentioning the small carriers. I try to always remember to ask the question: does this make, like, how big do I need to be for this to make sense? And right, are you able to integrate with me if I'm on like papyrus or like stone tablets kind of thing? For small carriers, like that's kind of a reality sometimes. So thank you. This is a random parenthesis, but I have to say. It does not appear from the website that MyCat has a separate logo from Homee. I like the blue color scheme. I would love a blue cat, like the animal, a blue cat, to represent. And I'm not artistic enough to draw it for you guys, but
Tony, we have a red cat. It's in there.
I'm not seeing it on the website. Maybe on the MyCat website. Oh, okay, yes, the MyCat. Oh, yes, the MyCat website does have a red cat. Thank you. I feel so much better. Perfect. Okay, that was my ADHD.
You see how quick we are?
I have got to say that was impressive. uh, okay, okay, awesome. Um, what else is important here? Okay, so it's pretty quick to integrate. Um, it makes sense for both large carriers and small carriers. Oh, I noticed on the website that you've had investment from several or a few carrier venture arms. So that's really good news, right? So Liberty, I believe I saw State Farms, and I think there was one other, right? That they kind of go through the website a little bit slow, but the Hartford. Okay, so at least three carrier venture arms have invested in you guys. That is fantastic, because that tells me that the carriers believe in this, right? And it's not every insurtech that I chat with that has investment from the carrier venture arms. So I think that that's a really good predictor of product market fit. Uh, but by the way, we had this conversation a little bit when we had lunch. But how did this come about? How did you realize that this was a need in the market?
Our CEO Doug tells an interesting story, and Homey 1.0, as we call it, and we're in Homey 2.0 today. Homey 1.0 started as a services company that was, emergency or urgent need, but not insurance. So my HVAC's out. I need to have that repaired. It's 95 degrees down here in South Florida, and for people who live down here, that's a big deal. That's a major catastrophe if your AC goes out, right? We know all over the country with freezes and things, you have pipe freezes, things of that nature. So the needs for these specialty single trade operators was something that we had this Uber-like experience with. We had a great app. It was, kind of first in class, technology solution. And we built this incredible network of non-insurance providers and service pros. So at an event one year, Liberty Mutual had seen our product and solution, said, we're really interested in something like this, and we'd like to talk a little bit more about that. And the rest is history. Homey became a 100% focused insurtech. In that, in the last 2 years, have hired experts from within the industry, individuals that come from other insurtech solutions like Martha and Jesse and Wes Jones, our COO, and a number of other folks that are from within the industry. So Homey's really leveling up their game in terms of getting some of the industry's best talent and brightest, forward visionary thinkers around what the industry needs. So delivering a little bit more of that dynamic service, right? Not every carrier wants a traditional TPA model. Not every MGA can afford expensive software solutions, those 3 to 5 solutions. So Homey does a really nice job of offering different levels of engagement that allow a carrier to utilize the amount they need and work with some great pros. And when we have those big surge events where pros within the insurance industry are fully inundated in that capacity, we've got pros that are not in the insurance industry to help supplement that as well. So from that perspective, that's, I think, where Homey's done a really nice job of building that solution out from the 1.0 version to where we sit today in 2.0.
Okay. When this goes live, I'll tag all three of you on LinkedIn. I'll tag the company on LinkedIn. Who is the right person to reach out to if we want to sign up, if we want to get a demo or whatever? Who should the listeners reach out to?
Yeah, so combination of, you can go to homey.com and click a link and both request information and additionally get an opportunity to schedule an appointment with my team and get a demo and do some basic discovery so we can help curate a solution and help align which one of our solutions is the best fit for what the carrier's goal is. If you're a pro, there's also an opportunity to list you're a pro or a provider and you'd like more information on becoming a Homey service provider. And in that situation, same link, homey.com, scroll down to the bottom and you'll see the big button to request more information. And it's about as easy as it can get.
Perfect. And any conferences where you guys will be at, InsurTech Hartford, ITC, Connected Claims Conference, InsurTech Insights, or anything else, if we want to run into you in person?
We're huge fans of my buddy Brian Felchek and the
Because
PLRB.
that was like,
So
okay.
we definitely will be. Yeah, we just did the national, and we'll be at large loss. We'll be at the tech symposium for PLRB, and then obviously Vegas, the big ITC event, the annual event there is where you'll find us as well, and then a number of smaller associations and conference events that
PLRB
will
makes so
attend
much
as
sense.
well.
Absolutely, right in you guys' space. Okay, awesome. Sometimes I like to ask, and we can cut this part out if it doesn't make sense. But is anything coming? Any new features coming in the next couple of months that you're already able to speak about? And if there's not, that's perfectly fine.
You know, Tony, yeah, there is. So one of our venture investors is really interested in a solution that provides consumer choice, policyholder choice, and transparency. So we've got a really nice solution called Homee Choice that's coming to market here in the second half of the year. That's a bit of really puts the power of the marketplace into the policyholder's hands so that policyholder feels the ability to make a choice of who they work with based on their own criteria, not necessarily on the carrier's criteria. It's a nice solution because I often compare it to most people understand their medical insurance, where TPAs and managed repairs networks are much like an HMO. There's an in-network service provider list that you work with, and if you work with that, things go really smoothly. Well, Homey provides that traditional HMO experience, but we felt it was necessary, just as we see occurring in the health marketplace and health insurance space, the opportunity to give people to have more of a PPO, choose your own specialist experience. And there's states with anti-steering laws, and a lot of of the bigger companies have some fairly large targets around steering. So this is a great solution for those individuals that want to give that policyholder choice over to their policyholders.
So let me see if I understood that one correctly. Okay, so policyholder choice. Okay, as the carrier, just putting myself in the shoes of the carrier, part of me is excited because policyholder choice is definitely gonna lead to satisfaction, and to them being more likely to stay with us after the claim. But it also makes me nervous, right? If I'm used to setting the parameters. But yes, you're right. The states have become more and more difficult on that. So I definitely want compliance on that. So, but my question is basically, can I set the basic parameters of? Okay, so yeah, tell me about that.
Well, keep in mind, I mean, that marketplace is going to be a group of qualified, credentialed, and great options either way. So really what you're doing, and rather than using an algorithm that automatically assigns a company, we're letting the policyholder be the algorithm and choose a company that they like. And it's, I compare it to, some people, we just had the NCAA basketball championships, and there's always that person in the office that chooses the jersey colors or different, cool mascots that build their bracket. If that's your criteria and you're picking colors, then great. You might, yeah, exactly, right. And then there's the option of individuals that maybe had a bad experience with a contractor in the past, and they understand some of the friction points that occur, and they want to look at contractors that meet certain criteria. They have a certain star rating, and their capacity and years in business matter, things of that nature. So really gives the homeowner or the policyholder the opportunity to really use whatever criteria is most important to them to choose the contractor
And
that they're most comfortable with.
I would actually add
And
to that too. Remember, I talked about like the carrier having their profile and the pro having a profile, and they understand each other's SLAs and KPIs. So they've already agreed to work in those parameters. So you can give a policyholder a choice and know that you're still going to have a pro that will comply with the standards that you set for your guidelines.
Okay, so yeah, ultimately, basically, policyholder has a choice, but only within the providers that have seen eye to eye with us.
Hmm.
But best of both worlds, basically. Okay, and I am guessing that truly does not exist with any other. Like I haven't heard of that anywhere else
I haven't heard
yet.
of it either.
Very.
yeah, no,
It,
that's something we
and
think
it's
pretty new
something
and
that
forward
if you look
thinking.
at it from a business operations standpoint, Tony, I kind of deal with this and have dealt with it for years. Carriers have their own standards and they have to sit down with every single vendor and go through that and put them through the ropes and make them, comply and agree to all this. And if it's all done up front and it's done in a simplified way where they can see it and they make that determination to accept it, that's a lot simpler and a lot less time.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. This has been a really good one. I think we covered all the important stuff. Thank you, everybody. If there's anything that I haven't asked that you really wished I have, please do mention it. Yeah, this is. I think this is a really, really interesting solution. It makes so much sense. If you're a claims leader and you listened all the way to the end, you should at least watch a demo. You owe it to yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate you
Yeah,
having us
thank
today.
you.